Before Ric Flair became a wrestling legend widely regarded as the greatest performer in the biz with an astounding 16 world championships. Before the Nature Boy would claim to have hooked up with some 10,000 women, including Halle Berry, and throw his hat into the political ring running for vice president as part of the Walk a Flock of Flame ticket.
Flair Flame 16, make America woo again.
Before teaming up with Offset and Metro Boomin for the music video, Ric Flair Drip.
It's the woman out of way, a lot of them, a lot of race. Never hesitate to give a nigga yellow tape.
Ric Flair is just about the most decorated wrestler in history and a fan favorite for decades. But unlike his onstage persona, Ric was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was an orphan, eventually adopted by a family that was bringing in just $3,000 a year at the time. Now, Ric wasn't necessarily the best student, but he excelled in sports. He even began to pursue a football career before training to do what he's best known for. What's going on, guys? My name is Michael McCrudden, documenting the life and career of Ric Flair prior to fame, here for you on Before They're Famous. Now, I recently did a bio on Andre the Giant, so you should definitely check that out, and this video was brought to you by SeatGeek. As always, let me know who you want me to document next in the comments down below, and yeah, if you're new to this channel, do yourself a huge favor and hit subscribe. We'll be uploading every day. Alright, now let's get into this video.
I dress myself in alligator shoes. I wear a $15,000 Rolex.
Richard Morgan Flair, aka Ric Flair, was born on February 25th, 1949 in Memphis, Tennessee. His birth name is disputed, but according to Ric's book, Ric Flair to be the Man, he stated, depending on which documents you read, my birth name was Fred Phillips, Fred DeMari, or Fred Stewart. His birth parents' names were Luther and Olive, but they weren't the ones who raised him. That's right. Young Ric, he was an orphan, which is a stark contrast from what he presented while in character.
I was born with a golden spoon in my mouth.
Ric's adoption was arranged by the Tennessee Children's Home Society, while his adoptive father, a physician, was doing a residency in Detroit, Michigan. Now, at the time, he was only making around $3,000 a year, but that would soon change. Eventually, the family moved out to the small city of Edina, Minnesota, where Ric spent most of his childhood. Ric attended a local high school for 9th grade before being sent to a boarding school called Wayland Academy out in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. He would study there until completing his senior year. All in all, it took Ric 5 years to graduate high school, so it's probably fair to say he wasn't exactly academically gifted, but he did have an abundance of talent when it came to athletics. I lettered in 3 sports, he wrote. I played middle linebacker and fullbacker on the football team, threw the shot put, and I wrestled. And I assume when he says wrestled, he's not talking about this.
We have seen this sequence of moves on many occasions, so apparently half the
He's talking about this.
As he drove forward, pulling his opponent's leg towards him to unbuckle his balance.
So boring.
Right from all these legends, another legend is being decimated.
Yeah, much better. Anyways, before becoming a wrestler, Ric would go on to pursue football. He made his college ball debut as an offensive guard on the University of Minnesota's freshman team back in 1968. Well, at least according to ESPN's Charlie Lowe. Now, some sources state that he actually just signed a letter of intent to play on the team, but never ended up doing it. Wikipedia actually lists Flair on the team's roster for 1969 and 1970, but without proper citation, and the official website for the Golden Gophers, well, it doesn't keep roster records that far back. In any case, Ric's football career was relatively brief and would not take him to the NFL. Despite this, he stayed a lifelong fan of college football, and he's had words for certain teams in the past. One shouting at a college ball crowd, "I can't stand Ohio State, and I don't have time for Michigan State either." Okay, I didn't say either, I just added in. Sound a little better with either, right? Now, football star or not, during his college days, Ric managed to attract the affection of one Leslie Goodman, who would become his wife on August 28, 1971. They would go on to have 2 children, Megan and David, and stay together through the first decade of Ric's pro wrestling career. David, by the way, went on to become a wrestler himself, and Megan would make the odd appearance on WCW. Ric Flair made his wrestling debut in the American Wrestling Association in December of 1972. He fought George Scrap Iron Gadaski in Rice Lake, Wisconsin to a draw. With the league, he would go on to fight Dusty Rhodes, Larry Hennig, Wahoo McDonald, Andre the Giant, and Chris Taylor.
Probably the leading technical wrestlers in the sport of professional wrestling.
But his time with the AWA would be fairly short-lived. He left the league to join the MACW in 1974 and began touring in Japan with the AJPW, both part of the National Wrestling Alliance, or NWA. He would soon capture his first title, beating Paul Jones in 1975 for the Mid-Atlantic TV Championship. But his wrestling career looked like it was going to be cut short that October when he was in a plane crash in Wilmington, North Carolina. The crash ended the life of the pilot and paralyzed Johnny Valentine. As for Rick, well, he broke his back in 3 places and was told by doctors that he would never wrestle again. After intense physical therapy, well, Rick, he was back in the ring just 8 months later. Yeah. Now 5 NWA United States Heavyweight Championships would follow throughout the late 70s, and it was around this time that RIC FLAIR picked up the nickname Nature Boy. How did that happen? Well, he started calling himself that in 1978 to incite a feud with the original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers. Now Rick would win his first NWA World Heavyweight Championship in 1981 in a bout against Dusty Rhodes. Throughout the 80s, he would lose and regain the title periodically as he became a standout performer in the NWA League.
I'm better than any man alive, and this says so. Custom made, woo, from head to toe.
He would join his storyline cousins Arn and Ole Anderson and Tully Blanchard in forming the Four Horsemen. He would form rivals with wrestlers like Magnum TA, Sam Houston, Sting, and Ricky Steamboat. And he would even fight in the greatest city on earth.
Well, Koloff, brother, the tables were turned, because Frank Tunney put it together right here in Toronto.
And you know how that should go.
As far as wrestling went, Rick was on top of the world. But his personal life, well, that was another matter. As he toured from town to town, he became a severe alcoholic, drinking around 10 beers and 5 mixed drinks daily. He would also masturbate twice daily and womanized frequently. He's also said that he slept with a total of around 10,000 women. It's a lot. In 1983, Rick and his wife Leslie got divorced after 12 years of marriage. On August 27, 1983, he married his second wife, Elizabeth Harrell, and together they would have 2 children, Ashley and Reed. Now, like Rick's oldest son David, both Ashley and Reed would go on to make moves in the world of wrestling, with David signing a development contract with the WWE in 2007, and Ashley doing the same in 2012. And wrestling under the name Charlotte Flair.
I want her to grab my penis and just grab it and pull it back.
In 1991, Rick had managed to secure himself as the first WCW World Heavyweight Champion, while also still recognized as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But there was another belt he had his eye on. By this time, Vince McMahon World Wrestling Federation was on the rise, with stars like Rowdy Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan. Rick signed with the WWF and regularly appeared on the TV with the WCW belt, calling himself the real world champion. Behind the scenes, the WCW sued Rick to try and get the belt back from him, but he refused to return it, on the grounds that they had failed to return a $25,000 deposit to him. Eventually, the league, they had to design a new one. Now Rick would finally claim the WWF Championship in 1992 after winning the Royal Rumble with a little help from Hulk Hogan.
It's Flair from behind. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Rick would return to the WCW in 1993 and would have a long-running feud with Hulk Hogan beginning in 94. The Four Horsemen would have some membership changes in 95 and again in 96, and the team would go on to feud with the New World Order throughout the late 90s. In 1999, Rick's real-life son, David, he entered the league, and David's first match was a tag team battle with Rick against Curt Hennig and Barry Windham. Now Rick and David won the match, but afterwards David Flair got whipped by Hollywood Hogan, and the NWO, actually, he got beat up a lot.
What am I doing? Kicking your ass! What do you think I'm doing?
How do you like people getting beat up? Or how do you feel about other sporting events or concerts? If you enjoy those things, well, I'm gonna do you a huge favor and show you where you can get the best price on tickets. It's called SeatGeek. Boom! This is the world's largest event ticket search engine. What they do is search all the ticket prices available on the web to find the absolute best seat at the best price. SeatGeek puts out a 1 to 100 score to let you know if you're getting a good deal or a bad one. Green means good, red means bad. Now, because you guys have all been amazing subscribers, truthfully, I got you a $20 back deal when you use the promo code McCrudden. So go and use it right meow. There's a link down below. Go over there, get yourself some tickets, and when you're celebrating, make sure you give me a good old-fashioned woo! Just for RIC FLAIR. Now well into his 50s, Ric Flair continued his pro wrestling career, and his issues with drinking and reckless behavior also persisted. He was involved with one of the biggest WWE controversies of all time in May of 2002, an incident that would come to be known as the plane ride from hell. Following the UK-only Insurrection pay-per-view event, a plane was carrying the entire WWE team. We're talking wrestlers, crew, and Vince McMahon. Also on board were Brock Lesnar, JBL, Michael Hayes, Goldust, Scott Hall, X-Pac, Mr. Perfect, and of course, Ric Flair. Now a number of the stars got super drunk and chaos ensued. As for Ric's part, well, he lived up to his name Nature Boy because he stripped down to nothing but his robe. He then paraded up and down the alley while screaming, "Woo!" And one flight attendant, she described it as this: he flashed his nakedness while spinning his penis around. He also allegedly grabbed two flight attendants by the hands and forced them to touch his crotch. Now those flight attendants, they would go on to sue the WWE, and the suit was settled out of court. Ric denied his involvement. Still, you'd think it would be a wake-up call. But not long after the suit was settled, he'd be involved with another crazy incident in December of 2005. A judge issued an arrest warrant for Flair after a serious road rage episode, which I think looks something like this.
You know what you're looking at? You were looking at 245 pounds of twisted steel, and drop your bony butt to the curb appeal. I will body slam you so hard that you will poop your bald pants. You hear me? Don't you ever, ever.
Actually, Ric, apparently he did worse. He allegedly got out of his car, grabbed a motorist by the neck, and kicked the door off the guy's SUV. So I guess it was more like this.
Wait, he's behind you. Come to the... No, 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 no,
Damn, this video is getting into after they were famous territory. Now, after nearly 23 years of marriage, Ric and his second wife, Beth, yeah, they got divorced in 2006. And that spring, well, Ric would move on to his third wife, Tiffany Van DeMark. Nice name. Unfortunately, this one didn't last quite as long as the first two. She would file for divorce in 2008, and the split was finalized in 2009. Now also in 2008, Ric, he would fight his retirement match against Shawn Michaels, but this was just one of many retirements.
Will only retire when I'm dead in this ring.
Ric would continue to appear on WWE until his contract expired in 2009. He then worked the independent circuit the same year. He also joined Total Nonstop Action Wrestling in 2010, and in January of 2011, he fought what would be his last match against Douglas Williams in London. Now during the match, he tore his rotator cuff and would be out of commission until he announced he would never wrestle again in December of 2012. His contract with TNA also ended in 2012, but his relationship with the WWE, it would continue. In November of 2009, Ric would marry his fourth wife, Jacqueline Beams. Ric would file for divorce in 2012, and that divorce was finalized in 2014. There's a reason they call this guy the Alimony Pony.
3 divorces, 3 divorces.
During this time, tragedy struck when Ric's son Reed, he died from an accidental overdose of heroin, Xanax, and muscle relaxers. This was on March 29, 2013. Ric would go on to date Wendy Fifi Barlow, and it was with her that Ric would wife swap with Rowdy Roddy Piper and his wife Kitty. For real.
I'm doing this swap because I just have my own way of life and I wanted to have a totally different experience.
Their relationship somehow survived this, and in 2016, Ric and Fifi, well, they would get engaged. In August of 2017, well, he was hospitalized for a series of medical issues, many relating to his years of heavy drinking. He was in the early stages of kidney failure and on the brink of heart failure, and he needed a pacemaker installed. And a section of his bowel, it had to be removed. He underwent surgery and was placed in a medical-induced coma. He lost nearly 45 pounds, and doctors gave him a 20% chance of surviving. After miraculously surviving the ordeal, Ric finally decided to quit drinking and womanizing. In 2012, Ric had become the first person to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame twice, the second time as part of the Four Horsemen. While his actual wrestling was over at this time, he returned to the WWE as a non-wrestler personality that December. In November of 2017, just a few months after nearly dying in a hospital, well, Ric appeared on SmackDown to congratulate his daughter on winning the women's title. As for the the rest of the story, well, you know the story, because this is before they're famous. My name is Michael McCrud, thanks for checking out this video. I got 2 more for you down here below. Also, thanks for SeatGeek for sponsoring this video, and there's a link to that down below. And are there any other wrestlers you guys want me to cover? Some people have been asking for Seth Rollins. Perhaps we can get that done, but I rely on you guys for suggestions, so you know where to hit me up in the comment section down below or on Instagram or Twitter, and I'll see you guys in another video. Boom! Or should I say, woo! 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 And I assume when he says wrestled, he's not talking about this.
Leg lock. We have seen this sequence of moves on many occasions.
He's talking about this. And I assume when he says wrestled, he's not talking about this. He's talking about this. And I assume when he says wrestled, he's not talking about this.
Jakey's light, flip him!
He's talking about this.
If you're not gonna fight me right now, then stop calling me the P word.